This is me taking a risk that most mothers wouldn't take, because this is killing me. This is fucking killing me.
And I do.
But it's like, their dads didn't want to help me. Like, literally, like, I done lost everything so many times. My daughters are in 3 different therapies every week. I'm driving everywhere from literally Mansfield, Zanesville, Delaware, Clintonville, everywhere through Ohio. Sometimes, actually, they had an appointment in Indiana. Literally, no help, no nothing. They wanted to see me fall. They wanted to see me crack. They wanted to see me break. They got that for right now. Only right now, because I'm getting my kids back, and when I do, nobody's gonna hear from us. We're gonna be better than ever. This is a little setback. This is exactly how I'm gonna call it. So however you guys spin it, whatever you guys do, I'm gonna have the last laugh in the end.
Amora's Lex story has gained significant attention and sparked intense debate online. The Columbus, Ohio mother of 5 went viral after she live-streamed her decision to surrender her children to Child Protective Services. Facing severe hardships, including job losses and homelessness, Lex explains that her actions were a last resort. Her pleas for help had not yielded the necessary support, leading her to make this difficult choice, which she believed was in her children's best interest. The decision has elicited mixed reactions. Some people sympathize with her situation, understanding the pressure she faced and commending her for seeking a solution. In contrast, others criticize her for handling the situation publicly. The backlash and public scrutiny have further complicated her circumstances, with Lex facing significant criticism online. In response to her plight, a community support fundraiser was established to help her regain stability and work towards reuniting with her children. The fundraiser has seen a positive response, indicating that a significant portion of the community is willing to help her through this challenging time. For those seeking more details and to hear her story directly, interviews and videos are available where she discusses her experience and the reasons behind her decision. These platforms provide further context and allow Lex to share her perspective amid the widespread public reaction. So there's a video or story out in social media discussing a woman's choice to return her children to CPS. And I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it from a few different lenses. And although I'm going to look at an interview where the young lady appears after her social media post, I am going to position to you all a few questions. So this is a self-awareness channel. I'm focused on content from social media because we get a lot of understanding of how we are thinking, where we get those thoughts from, and we are also making change through social media through these conversations. So I'm one to say that social media can be a tool for us to heal because we are exposing some information. So when this young lady comes on and she shares her story, we're getting a lot of different feedback. We're getting a lot of different opinions. And as a person that's on a self-awareness journey, one thing that I want to practice is implementing wisdom of God in the way that I operate to see if it makes a difference in my life, like intentionally implementing it in my life. I also want to practice responding to whatever triggers me online. And when I say respond, I mean consider questions from different lenses on why I see it this way, but also approaching why was I mad? Why was I upset? Why did this make me happy? What am I gleaning from this? And so I'm inviting you all, anyone who is open to considering a different perspective, anyone who is open to considering the entire story in a different lenses, I want you to come and review this with me because I'm going to have a few journal assignments. This requires us to think. It requires us to think because there has been so many different situations where we are operating in survival mode. And in order for us to heal, we have to pause. We have to get off the battlefield. And that requires us to still reflect, pause, sit, breathe. And sometimes that is a question. Why do I think the way that I do? So as it relates to this experience, anything that you know about it, if you haven't came across the social media post, then you might not be able to fit in one of these, but still join us in the conversation. But I have a question for you, and I want you to put yourself in one of these scenarios as it relates to Amora's choice, or even if you're just going off of the idea of someone returning their children to CPS, or returning their children back to the government, or giving their children to CPS because they cannot handle it anymore. They don't have the support. How do you respond to this scenario? A, do you disagree with her decision? B, are you sympathetic in some way about her decision? C, are you concerned about the the social media exposure? D, are you analyzing the role of community and governmental support? Or E, are you considering other parents in a scenario who is able to get through it and so she should get through it? If you find yourself in any of those A, B, C, D, or E, keep that letter to yourself. Maybe if you are willing to put it in the chat, the comment box is below. I'll have it pinned at the top. You can respond there. But we're going to watch an interview together. I'm going to respond to an interview. I didn't fully watch the video. I got an idea. She returned her children because she's stressed and she couldn't do it anymore. I didn't watch a full video from Facebook, but I'm going to go a different direction and look at the interview after the math. I want to see what she's saying after the math. A lot of people are concerned about her coming out doing interviews after she just turned in her children. So I really want to hear what she has to say here, because I think this perspective will add to some questions that I'll add throughout this experience together. So let's go ahead and watch. This video is going to be on a page called Leah A. Henry. She was able to have an interview with Amora. So let's go ahead and watch this together.
Well, I wish I could give you the tea, but mine's just a little bit tart, and that's why it's called Leah's Lemonade. And listen, I have a lemonade exclusive. I have Amora Lex now. Sis, you have gone very, very viral for some recent videos you've posted, more specifically with you going to the CPS office and going ahead and giving your kids to CPS. I know it's been a lot going on, but I wanted to talk to you because I felt like there was a lot of negativity surrounding this video, and it was very commendable to me.
I'm going to stop here really quick, because if anyone is picking up or responding to this with me, I think one thing that stands out is she's getting her phone ready, assuming that she's video cameraing herself for this experience. And the idea of some of the backlash here is, why is she on interviews? Why is she putting this out on the internet? One thing that I would say is sometimes we're going to receive content that we don't like, but this type of content I make room for, because there are some stories that are untold because there wasn't a camera. There might have been a fly on the wall, but we aren't able to really see what happened. And so we are only there for assumptions. And so this is her way of putting out exactly how she feels, which we say we want people to be honest, want to be authentic about how she feels with motherhood. Like, she's behaving exactly the way she feels. And for those who have a strength in being able to bear burdens, for those who have a strength in being able to swallow the pain, this might look crazy because you are able to hold that strength. To her, she might be weak. She might have needed support systems. So I just want to make this note here. Unpopular opinion. I am okay with this woman recording this experience. One, there are recorded experiences in the Bible that weren't always uplifting, but they taught us a lesson. There are recorded experiences on social media that allow us to see how people really feel, how they really think. And it also gives us room to correct it if we want to correct it and pursue peace on this earth. So let's go ahead and get back in the video. I was a little passionate, but I just wanted to bring that up because that's how I'm viewing this right now. Okay, let's get into this.
So I wanted to have you on to share your story. How you doing, Lex?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It was important for me to let you share your story. So I guess tell me what led up to you deciding to go ahead and give your kids to CPS. Where were you at mentally where you were like, you know what, I need help and this is what I need to do to make it better for my family?
So honestly, well, as far as the mental state, I'm perfectly sane. Ain't nothing wrong with me. It's just I love my kids so much. I just got tired. I want more for them. So it was like I want more for them so much that it was eating me alive, like my very existence. And every day I'm waking up and going to sleep. I'm like, hell no, this can't be it. Fuck that. Like I'm not going for that. It was just so honestly, before this, a lot of people don't know, outside of the 2 colleges, I was also working 2 jobs. Now, obviously, I've already let the world know that all I know is the hood. I've grown up in the hood. So obviously, I'm on welfare. I get food stamps and stuff. And, I was getting childcare with JFS. This would now be my second time going through some pure straight BS because of, like JFS and stuff. And so this time they took, for no reason, my childcare was still active, but they took my kids off the roster. And I'm like, okay, why'd y'all do that? So, you can't get a hold of them for like ever. So it's like once they did that, I ended up losing both my jobs. And I'm like, okay. And before that, like a lot of people don't, I do music, I model and stuff. So like on behind the scenes, my music and stuff was progressing. That's also how I was able to get my house. Like when I got my house, I paid $6,500 cash for it. And my rent is $1,500 monthly. Plus I'm paying literally like almost $3,000 bills in a month alone. So yeah. So like when, JFS kind of did, I'm like, damn, like that really was like my everything. Like You know, I'm not a lazy person. It wasn't providing for my kids or being a mom that was the problem. You know, that's my lifeline. You know, like I've been a mom since I was 15. My identity is mom. So that's what I identify as, you know? But it was just like, once they did that, I was like, okay, well, shoot, okay, if I get this bill, and I'm like, okay, well, I still got 25 over here. I need to get, like, it was like,
It started to stack up.
Yeah, so it was just like, okay, I'm not doing this no more. So best believe by the time I do come back for my kids, we're not going to be in the hood no more. I'm not going to say we're going to be like, you know, Kylie Jenner rich, you know, shout out to her, but period. But it's not like I'm going to be Kylie Jenner rich, but I'm not, you will not see me here in Columbus. Or the ghetto parts of Columbus.
Yeah. So I guess give me, how many kids do you have?
I have 5 kids. 5 beautiful, very intelligent kids.
I want to pause here because there was a lot that was said and I didn't want to pause it too early. One thing that she mentioned here is that she is mentally fine. And I want to give us space to consider, what does it mean to be mentally fine in the confines of America? What does it mean to be mentally fine as a single parent, having to do all of the work yourself to be able to survive? To have that many jobs means that there is a lack of support. There's a lack of finances. In this case, some people have many jobs because of other reasons, but in this case, it's just me thinking out loud. What does it mean to be mentally fine? And I want you all to consider this for yourself, maybe consider this for Amoura. But when she says this, if I'm thinking as someone who would, let's say I'm someone in her family and I hear that out loud, I think that there's something to consider there, because I don't know if we all understand what it means to be mentally fine. A lot of us can have cases where out loud it appears that something is wrong with someone, when there is all of this abuse that's going on that we are exposed to now as it relates to some of these cases that have been exposed, when it relates to how people are just going at it all day and how we are constantly in this circle of going back and forth about traumas that we probably are trying to resolve from our childhood, or maybe even generational curses from sin itself. So for me, I am on this journey where I am implementing the Bible, I'm implementing wisdom, but there's also some trauma that comes from religious structure. So I want to be mindful there. But when I think about I'm totally mentally fine out loud, and what we can see is that it wasn't mentally fine to the point where you could not keep your children. And even mothers who keep their children through their mental illnesses. So what I'm hearing as I'm trying to listen, I'm trying my best to listen and see it from her point of view. I hear that she's mentally fine because now she's making a decision that is going to help her children. Maybe in her position, because she's working so much, because she has so much on her plate, she can't offer her children the nurture, the time, and attention. And many mothers are in this position where they can't offer true motherhood. And so these children grow up and they have choices. They could respond to their motherhood and harm other people because they lack something, or they might say, I didn't get this as a child, and so I'm going to be better. We have no idea what the outcome is going to be. But this is why when people say that they want to be child free, when people say they don't want to be a mother, or they want to be a mother for superficial reasons, we have to give them the opportunity to not put children in this position. And I'm not saying that we all are doing this, but let's say that you're someone who's like, you should have a child and you should keep that child. Or you're saying you should not get on birth control, or you should not do X, Y, and Z. We have to, in positions like this, offer solutions, because if we were to say, send this person through something they don't want to be in, and I think we're going to hear here that she actually wanted to be a mother, but we have to listen to the environments when we're raising people. Before I go back into the video, I just want to share this quick story about a plant that I had. I had brought a plant from the farmer's market and I did not pay attention to this plant, but I put it in the right environment. And for some reason, there was enough sun that came across this way. It was enough sunshine that came across this way. And the pepper started to form itself. And it made me think, like, what would have happened if I provided a little bit more nurture and attention and care in the situation? I probably would have had a whole bunch of peppers in this plant right now. But for some reason, there was something that was able to grow because the environment that was chosen. And what I heard here is that she said she grew up in a hood. So this is something that we would have to consider when they talk about reparations for communities. Some of this reparation doesn't mean to be a check to someone, but we need to consider, how do we remedy the communities that are called the hood so that we don't have to be afraid of the outcomes that come from that story, or we don't have to gamble. Some of us make it out of it, but we don't know how many people won't make it out of it. We don't know the survival or the strength or the weakness. This is why us coming together, being able to pull from our strengths and our weaknesses versus pulling from a place of judgment might be more beneficial and helpful for us to navigate this world. But I don't know, it's a theory. Let's go ahead and finish watching, because...
And in the videos, you also said that the fathers don't help.
No. So a lot of the people, I'm actually so happy to be able to actually shed light on this. So a lot of people, I've been a mom since I was 15. My oldest 2 kids actually came from rape. Yeah. And
wow.
Yes, a lot of people, some of the people who are closest to me know, of course, but my oldest 2 kids came from rape. So I struggled with all of that. And I was secretly working 2 jobs while doing high school. So on my 18th birthday, guess what I did? I got me an apartment. I paid my rent up for a year and 3 months. And you damn right, I took my babies and I ran. What else was I going to do? Sit here and keep dealing with that shit? No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I did. I took my kids and I ran. Then I met my youngest son's dad, and he was no better. He turned out to be just more of a monster. And a lot of people's like, oh, the way you talk about him, if people understood what this man did while he was alive, and I'm not even talking about the females, and because I'm sorry, that's kind of just like what every man does. No man is made to be monogamous. So it's the other stuff that followed behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, he had a drug issue, I couldn't deal with that. So around the time that he died, me and him, I was kind of like, I found my voice. I found my worth. Like, I was kind of leaving him. It was like a real big, messy situation. And we can all act like, baby mamas and baby dads don't say some of the most hurtful. Can I cuss on the radio?
Go ahead.
So I'm not going to make it seem like everybody don't know baby moms and, they say all fucked up and hurtful shit to each other. No, because we've been there. We've done it. Maybe not you, because you don't have kids and stuff, but those who know, they know. So we're not even going to do that. But a lot of the stuff that he did behind closed doors, and even as far as the other people, like a lot of the people that are trying to tell the world the story that they know about me, they literally, there's not one person that is literally speaking on me that knows what the hell they're talking about. I promise you, not even this man's mother. I mean, unfortunately, it is sad that he's passed away, but like I said, when I found my voice and I found my worth, that's around the time that he died. And he had also had overdosed 3 months prior to that when I was in Florida. And I got blamed for that. Yeah, so it's like a lot of people don't realize like a lot of the stuff that I'm dealing with. Like his mom, once detectives came to, detectives and FBI, they actually took over around the time that he died. They actually took over all my emails, all my social medias, my phone was tapped. Like they really was like not playing, and your girl ain't do it. Y'all, it was somebody, but it wasn't me, So I don't know. They're gonna have to figure out that narrative, and it's like the same people that are saying they know me or this and that, trying to tell my story, are the same people I couldn't ask for help. The same people who said they had my kids are the same people I couldn't ask for help. And I'm like, shit, I wish you had my kids. I wish you was helping me. I mean, if I might be
okay. There's some questions I want people to consider, and I'm considering these questions as well. I'm hearing someone saying that they need help, and this is how she's responding, and she's returning her children, but she needs help. I think a lot of mothers need help, and they might get it, they might not get it, but they are expected to war through it because they are the mother. And mothers have done it, they've done a great job, but there's so many things that we have to consider. And one of the questions that I have, I'm going to put some of these questions throughout the experience, but one of the questions that I have is, she mentioned that the baby fathers weren't in the picture before things happened. And so my question is about gender roles and expectations. Why are we still in this place where this woman has gone viral because she has intentionally placed her children in some type of care because she didn't have the support otherwise, because she couldn't do it, because it could have resulted in something worse. This is what her choice was, to intentionally put them somewhere where we have lots of people who leave their children every day and they're not exposed on the internet, of course. This is why I think this story is interesting interesting here. Because let's imagine that every time a father left a mother to the children for themselves, that a camera came into their world and started following their lives and saying, hey, why are you not with your children? Would there be something about that would allow men to say, I don't want to be in that position. I don't want to embarrass myself, so I'm going to stick through this? One of the interesting things about being a mother to me was when I first got pregnant with my first child, after doing all the right things, doing it in a religious perspective, being married, all the things, I realized that there's a baby inside of me and it can't get out unless I push through this baby. And although there's alternative reasons, that wasn't even something in my mind. I didn't understand that was options, but it was something that I started to think about because I was fearing, I really have to push this baby out. So one of the things I started to do, I was looking around at people who had children. And at this point, I did not have the resources or foundation to support the child, but I was having the child because the religious organization said to be fruitful and multiply. But I knew that I had enough love and I wanted to have the child. And so I was going to the CPS office, or not the CPS office, the food stamp office, the wherever you get the government assistant office. And I was looking at people who I was judging them. I was looking at them and I said, oh, all these people had babies. They did it. They pushed through and had a baby. And the reason I'm gonna tell y'all, because I was judging. I was judging because people were in there like just yelling at people, being very entitled, like yelling at their children. I was just like, yo. But it was a very interesting place because I sat there and I looked at all these people who looked different than me, but they had their children. And if I was even judging them on the fact that they had their children, but was like reckless, they had their children. But I wonder, in a world where they didn't have children, they decided to have these children for whatever reason. Maybe they did love their children. Maybe they thought it was going to be a check. I have no idea why people have children and treat them in a way that's just like, there was this one point where a woman was just like going at her children, like the way that she was talking to her, like I couldn't understand it. But now that I grew up and I understand that it's more than that one case that I was judging, it's really about what became before then and what came before then and what came before then. There's a foundation of a lack of fear of God in the land, right? We can start there. We can even start with, if we all tried our very best to get through this, the 10 commandments, would it make a difference in the way that we see the world? Because we're summarizing those two greatest commandments is fear God and then love your neighbor as yourself. So even if we stop there, would we see a difference? So I'm also hearing about, decision making. She was young, she was 15. And so there has to be some idea that our decision making comes from those who taught us how to make decisions or didn't teach us how to make decisions. We just looked around and tried to make the best decisions. Whose fault is it? Let's just use this individual case. Whose fault is it that this woman returned her children or gave her children to the government to take care of? The government being the people. Whose fault is it? Is it her fault alone? Is it the mother and the father's fault? Is it the system's fault? Is it God's fault? Whose fault is it? Because from my understanding, from my journey in this world, everything is started with the disconnect from God, the disconnect from good, the disconnect from that fear of God, that instruction, and the disconnect from loving one another, treating each other with care. That's where we can start. If we're really looking at all the different organizations that we have, all the different groups that we have to help people in situations, what if we started to just go back to just those foundations without the manipulation of church, without the extortion, without the power control? What if we started to go back to those simple principles really sincerely? Even if we can't do it on a large scale, we're just trying it in our own homes and seeing if it rubs off. I think that is really where we start, but that's not where we are right now. So I have to be realistic, right? So realistically, for those who are responding to this woman's situation and they are in an uproar and they have a lot of judgment here, I think that these people have a passion for children. They have a passion for this subject and this topic, and they hate what's going on here so much that they have to contribute to society in one way or the other so that we don't see this anymore. And I wonder, to those people who are highly judgmental of this woman's choice, how are you contributing to this disorder? I would suggest even donating to these programs that help single mothers, maybe starting a nonprofit yourself, maybe adopting children. But where does that lead us to? Now our burdens become other people's burdens. So would it be easier if we all just loved our neighbors as ourselves and try tried to live as peacefully as we could amongst all men. So that would contribute to, maybe they didn't work out. Maybe these men that she chose, these are bad decisions. Maybe she chose these men and they don't want to be with her. Now we have to see what co-parenting work, and maybe it wouldn't. Maybe what therapy work, with some mediation work. Do we need some type of instruction or care from the community, from those who have all the answers, or those who have been through this and have succeeded, to come in and help? These are really solutions that we can try out, because honestly, we're going online and saying our opinion and sharing our judgment is doing one thing. It's showing us that we have a hate for this. We don't like the fact that children have to be put in the hands of the government. And so that's just like, in my perspective of reading the Bible, like, if God hates evil, then we want to get away from it. And so how do we get away from that? Making better decisions, being support to one another, being a village. So then what I'm also hearing here is about the community, the support that she didn't have. How important is the concept of village in raising children? And how can communities come together to support parents in these type of crises? I don't know if we can support her by judging her so harshly. I don't know if that works. Let's just imagine that someone came online and they just was ripping this person apart. I haven't really seen all of the posts, but they were ripping this person apart, calling her all the names and making it known that this is just ridiculous of what she's doing. One thing I would do is consider, is there something wrong? Maybe. If there's something wrong, is there something I can do to help her? And if I can't, is there something that I can do from my home, from a loving heart, that's better than me coming on the internet and making a fool, or being, for lack of better words, mean to a person that I don't know? For those who do believe in prayer, sincerely praying for someone could be a power that we haven't been tapping into. I'm so interested in a lot of people coming together, sincerely coming together and praying for someone outside of themselves, praying for what it looks like to handle peace. Because some people say we can't live in a peaceful world. Well, then maybe we should adjust our prayers to say, how can we handle a peaceful world? Because this ain't it. And if, when we limit ourselves, but we also say that we believe in anything, whether it is that you believe in the Bible or prayer or crystals, if you believe in anything, what could you use with these resources and tools to contribute to things like this? I'm passionate, yo. I feel like I'm being real. That is my go-to. I'm on a self-awareness journey. And I once really judged people in the government assistance office as I was in the government assistance office, because I had a lack of. And now I don't want to come from that angle anymore. I really want us to sit and consider and have questions about, why are we dealing with these type of things? There's a lot of places that we can put blame on, right? If we're looking at stories of the Bible, right? And you don't even have to be a believer in the Bible, but if you're just looking at the story, if we're looking at the stories in the Bibles and we're looking at Adam and Eve and the snake story, and we listen to everyone kind of push blame on one another, what really was going on when we were putting blame on one another? What order did we remove ourselves from? And everyone had a fault, whether it was the man, whether it was the woman, everyone had a fault. So I'm really interested in this question about gender roles and expectations, and let me know in the comments if you have any feedback here. But how do societal reactions differ when mothers surrender their children to CPS compared to when fathers abandon their families? What does it say about gender roles and expectations in parenting? So this is one of the things that came up when I'm listening to her. I wonder, are we thinking about that too? Because the response probably should be very similar, but these children came out of the womb of a mother. And so that means that we have more responsibility. Understood. But that mother cannot have that child by themselves. Even if they go to a sperm bank, someone is required to give the gift to the woman. And how the woman treats her gift is dependent on who she is, what her upbringing is, what her morals are. Why are we so against instilling those back into our homes? Just start with the 10 Commandments. If you go through the 10 Commandments, I was going through the 10 Commandments and I was wondering, like, why we can't do this? Maybe if one that stood out to me was maybe even the Sabbath day. So I went and I pulled out, just Sabbath itself, the rest from work. Mothers need rest. Mothers need rest. People need rest. People need community. That's also what the Sabbath provides, community. Even if you look at it from that point of view, coming together and knowing, like, what's going on? Like, did you need help with those children? What if it was just the Sabbath day that helped some people, where the children were going into another place where people who love children gave them some time and attention, and the mother was able to just sit and breathe? It's just little things like that. I wonder about them. Let's go ahead and finish out.
If I did have that village that everybody's saying that I got, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I would not be sitting here talking to you. like literally having to tell my story.
Mm.
So I haven't really like seen too much like on social media that I've actually cared about.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, let me probably go ahead and straighten that out.
Yeah. Well, also another huge thing on social media is obviously there's a conversation going around that you gave up your kids and then you went to shake your ass and talked about shaking your ass online. So clear that up for me. Or is there something that you want to say to that? Is it true? Is that you gave your kids to CPS and you hit the streets? Like what's really the tea on that?
Okay. So obviously, yes, I did give my kids to CPS. But it's not to go shake my ass. It's to, give us a better future. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. If I do got to go shake my ass in Futures King of Diamonds Club and bring home maybe 20,000 or something, best believe I'm going to take that 20,000 and put that into a business, and I'm going to triple that. And I'm going to triple that, what I just tripled,
Yeah.
So no, I didn't shake my ass. And I mean, look, even if I did, I'm a grown ass woman. And you know what? What if I'm out there shaking my ass because I can't deal with the fucking fact that I just gave my only lifeline away? I gave my only backbone away. Like I wake up every day and go to sleep, eating, not eating, but breathing children. Like, they're always in the same vicinity. I've never been away from my kids, except for when the same people who are saying they had my kids are the same ones who falsely have my kids taken away from me. I fought for a year and a half to get my kids back, just for these people to send me back a letter saying all the allegations that were against you were found unsubstantiated. So I'm actually still working with lawyers because, yes, I do have a lawsuit in hand. I mean, so like everybody's about to get a piece of the pie of that they had. It's just gonna mean my kids at the end of the day eat whipped cream when I shouldn't eat it. So I guess, crazy ass analogy, but
that's what it is for you.
But it's like, honestly, with or without like this exposure, it's crazy that my exposure came from me having to do one of the hardest things in my life. Because one of the biggest things is they said I had like posted it for attention. I would obviously, if they, I don't know. Okay, the people who seem to be so invested, they're not invested enough because they obviously didn't see my videos prior to that, crying out for hours for help. Like
I don't know why I've been so emotional the last week, but that, I don't know, when she just said that, I think that I had this problem with how harsh we are with one another as we are navigating this earth that can be harsh sometimes. And there's always this narrative that life has to be hard, that you have to go through all of these things. And I'm like, can we try something new? Can we try showing each other love? Can we try being support systems to one another? Can we just try doing our best, even if we can't give our all? We're just doing the best with what we have. One of the questions that I had, and I'll share with y'all why this section, it's making me cry a little bit inside. Ooh. One of the questions that I have is just about our community. What kind of community and governmental support systems do you think are necessary to prevent situations like the Lex situation? How can these systems be made accessible and effective? I had this problem with one of these scriptures because I was confused, one, but then I understood it and I was like, okay. But it was about carrying the burdens of one another. And I said, what if I just carry my own burden and then I don't have to worry about everyone else's burden? Wouldn't that make it easier? Wouldn't the load be better? But it corrected itself in this passage, and I'll put it up on the screen if I remember the verse, I'll put it up on the screen. But it's Paul, he's talking in the scriptures, and then he goes back and he says that we also should be responsible for our own burden. And what happens is there's so many things and causes out in the world that we could align ourselves with, but realistically, who's going to do it? Who's going to have the heart to do it? Who even has the time as they're trying to survive America, maybe even pay their own bills and do all the things? Who's going to do it? There's some really good people out in the world. And I try to make sure I remind myself of that. I try to make sure that I remind myself of the fact that your mindset can go a long way. Because if you are constantly focused on negative information or all the bad stories, you'll really start to look at the world and think that's the only thing that exists. But I'm here to say that that's not the only thing that exists. There are solutions that exist. There are programs. There are people who care. There are people who have experiences that can help other people with their burdens. And because their experience was so important to them, it doesn't even feel like a burden or weight. The yoke is easy. But I think what's so important here is that she cried out for help and it didn't matter. It didn't matter. And what she did here is, when we think about all the cases where someone just unalive their children and they take themselves out, we have to consider what's going on in this world. Like, how is it that some people can go through this and how is it that some people cannot go through it? What is the difference between these two type of people? And how can we get them in the same room for direction and guidance? So someone needs direction and someone can help guide them. When can we make those communities? Sometimes in our Sabbaths, sometimes in the communities that we create that align with what's important to us. So we have resources out here. And I will say that I just want to shout out this program that I attended when I was younger, and I had my children, and I was trying to navigate poverty, trying to navigate, being a mother and trying to do this. And the way that this extreme religious organization had us do it. Even the church itself might not even be the best support. I remember being in part of an organization that claimed to be the truth, but they were taking money away from us, right? And I had to get resources from the churches in my community, even though they made fun of those churches. And it's so interesting now because it's like, oh, I did get support from the people that the church made fun of. And I used to always think it was so weird because I never had a bad relationship with the church that I grew up in. But that's another story. If y'all want to hear about it, y'all let me know in the comments. But I'm just going to put that to the side. But what I wanted to say here is it wasn't just the churches that was able to help me and the resources I found, but there were community groups that were focused on building healthy habits. So there was a program that I attended and all these mothers with children got together and we worked out. Whew, guys, I did not know. And we worked out together and they brought in people. They got funds from the community so that someone could watch our children while we worked out. They even had programs where mothers were able to get space and they were able to play games and talk and have conversations with other mothers. This program was probably so important. I don't think I got to the point where Amoura was because not only did I have that at the time, and this is why my experience with the organization I was in that probably wasn't the best, gets me a little like, is that not only that at the time, I was married, so I had that support. I also had, if I can call on anyone in my family, but because of my situation, I did not. But I also had there were other women who had children that was in this community and we all were together. And so it was almost as if the weight, guys, I'm so sorry. The weight, that burden, because this is like real time. Oof. There was guys, I do not want, I'm supposed to cry right now. My therapist is like, I'm supposed to let this go, but like, I have been conditioned to be, to really suppress my emotions. So I want to get through this video though. It just kind of sparked something for me. But when the community of the women who also had children, whose husbands weren't always around, there was something that allowed the burden to be shifted and organized amongst us all, that it didn't feel like a burden anymore. Because all the mothers were able to sit together and the children were playing, and you had partnerships, you had community. Community is important. And so when I'm listening to this young lady, I feel like she is calling out in a way that some parents or some mothers want to, but they just don't have it in them to just send their children somewhere else. But what they might be doing is their stress might be on their children. Their trauma might be on their children. But for the sake of just doing their best, they are holding on. And there's power and there's strength in that. Some of the mothers are harming their children and keeping them. And what this woman says is, I feel all those things and I don't want this burden. I can't carry on my own. It's almost radical in a way. If you really sit back and think about what's happening here, is yes, on the surface level, keep your children, do your best. But if we really wanted to get past some of the issues that's going on in our communities, why do you think someone would do this? It might be easier for someone who's a mother who is a single mother to maybe answer that question. It might be less easier for someone who had all of the support and all of the nurture to answer that question. It might be harder for someone someone who's never had children to answer that question, but someone might be similar to her and they just wouldn't have done that. But they might be able to relate to how hard it is if they had the time to sit, to think, reflect. And this is why therapy, y'all, is so important. And that's one of the community resources that has to be available to those who are in communities that are set up for failure. There's no setup for success here. Some people do survive it, but there is no setup for success. It really has to do with a moral compass. Like, that's to be about foundation. So although we have our issues with religion, it's just the way that people are using it. But if we're just looking at the principal thing, like love your neighbor as yourself, you cannot be mad at that, because it really is going to transfer to all the other things that you need in this world. I'm gonna finish this video. Be cool.
It's viral, but literally 20, 30 minutes before I walked into CPS, they was telling the cops, no, we don't want them. The twins that, oh, we don't want them. Me and my baby mom, we got kids on the way now. I'm like, why y'all having more kids? You're not even trying to take care of the ones you got now. But I'm not trying to bash nobody. I'm only telling my story. So the truth can never be a diss. So if you salty about the pages that you wrote in my book, maybe you might want to change your character.
Oof.
I'm sorry, like I ain't the one.
Okay.
So it's like,
okay. Now, I do want to talk about this as well. You know, obviously there has been a lot of negativity, but let's talk about positivity really quick.
Yeah.
Let's talk about literally the people who have reached out to you and said that they see you. Has anybody notable or someone we would know have reached out to you?
Yeah, actually I've been in contact with a couple people. Luckily for me, I'm only just going one day at a time, taking it a step. But, I do have some people, who's reached out. Mona Scott has reached out.
Wow.
Oh, goodness. some artists, Eli Frost, Wook. I talked to Ugly Money Nietzsche, and I've actually been talking to him for quite some time behind the scenes, and he's always just been trying to motivate me, push me, he's been a decent support, spiritually, like trying to help me keep that mindset. Even just a couple, newly signed artists and, just even artists from our city,
And even, I was going to say, and I've seen a lot of support as well as negatively, even online. So I love that for you, because it's important that you get support, because a lot of Black women don't ask for help and don't receive it. So I want to commend you. I wanted to say that, listen, I wanted to give you a platform where you could speak freely and not be judged. I want it to be an open space for you here at Power, especially because we're in your hometown. But if people want to help you, if people want to donate, what do you need for your kids? How can people help you after seeing this video and make sure that your kids actually get back to you?
Honestly, just like I've said, I've posted, my Cash App, my PayPal. Y'all probably think I'm probably about to go live it up in Miami. No, I'm not. I'm about to take that money. I've actually had 2 businesses actually with the state that I've been trying to open. One was my skincare business, and the other one was my clothing line. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna invest that money into my business, because at the end of the day, all of this is coming back to my kids, because when I leave this earth, I'm trying to create generational wealth so they can be comfortable.
Yeah.
My kids, we do need some clothes, because we did not just, but like, I want to say back in September, I had some crazy ass stuff with my landlord. He, scammed me, did all type of crazy stuff. So I'm like, I didn't have what I needed to go get that truck and stuff at that moment. And I walked away from everything. And I said, It's fine, baby. We gonna build back up. And we did. And of course, messing with JFS, that's still up in the air. But then I'm not going to say it's just JFS, because my landlord, they actually was putting siding on my house. They caught my house on fire. So I lost my work from home job that I was actually using to pay for my rent. So
Wow.
He's like, I was like, hey, I got another job. You just got to wait till the 16th. He's like, we're not going to wait till the 16th. And I'm like, but it's y'all's fault. I don't know. So I don't know. But I mean.
So you posted tell everybody your Cash App.
It's Alexis Wright 23.
Okay. And then where can they find you on social media?
My Instagram is Lamborghini_Lex, also known as Queen Stacks. And then my Facebook is Amora Lex.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lex, for coming to talk to me. Wait, what do you want to say?
And I'm sorry, really quick. Can I
just real quick? Yeah.
So there's this big message I do want to get out, because I have seen all you guys' messages. I'm not really worried about the negative ones, but the ones about the women that I have inspired. Some of you guys have said some things. Listen, I am not at all any way, shape, or form inspiring y'all to give up y'all's kids without a plan. what I'm doing right now, I did what I did because I knew I had a plan. I knew what I was doing. And this plan was 11 years in the making. So some of y'all don't give y'all kids up with no plan. And make sure you're doing what you got to do so you can come back for them. Because like, well, I'm not trying to inspire parentless kids out here because these kids are the future. So y'all got to have a plan. Like y'all can't just do it and just y'all just have a plan for real.
Okay. Well, Lex, thank you again so much, boo. I appreciate you for coming to the Lemonade Stand, sharing your story. And yes, if you feel inclined to help her, make sure you follow her on social media and donate so she can get her kids back. That's why she was recording, y'all, okay? Because she wanted to make sure she had notation. Lex, thank you so much again, boo.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, Lemonade Stand, grab a cup, throw it back.
I haven't seen all of the stories. I haven't even looked at all of the responses to this woman's story, but this is almost radical, as I mentioned, in a way. Before I close out, I am going to revisit those letters that you chose in the beginning, and I'm going to couple them with a journal question. So for A, what alternative solutions might you have proposed in her situation? So these are people who disagree with her decision. For those who chose B, how do your personal experience or background influence your perspective on her actions? Why did you sympathize with her? For those who chose C, concerned about the social media, what role should social media play in discussing sensitive family issues? Is there a balance between awareness and privacy? For those who chose D, what kind of community support systems do you think are necessary to prevent situations like this? And E, imagine you are a counselor or a social worker. How would you approach helping someone in a similar situation? I said in another video that the topic of motherhood is really important to me, and it's important to me in all different angles. But one of the ways it's important to me is because I'm a mom. You know, I have children. I love my children. I spoke about my grandmother and her impact on me. It's why I love children. And I went into motherhood without having, not having the worst environment or, having like issues from, being in a community that might promote me to just have children without proper decision making. I actually went into motherhood with a faith base. I went into motherhood married. I went into motherhood excited about it and loving about it. And even with all of these things, motherhood is a very, very powerful position in this world. It requires so much of you. It requires a lot of love. And so one of the things that I would inspire others to do is really focus on the lack of love for yourself, because that's going to stem into how you treat not only your children if you're a mother, but just how you treat everyone in your world and how you even attract support systems. It's really magnetic. Love itself is magnetic. But I love what she says here at the end, and I think this is important for people who see a story like this and they're like, I'm going to give away my children. I don't think that is the goal, and I'm glad that she said that out loud, because the government, CPS, the foster system, it doesn't do any better. I think the goal is really being vulnerable, really seeing where you can get help, even if it's not around you. And I want to be gentle when I say this, but when you find a community that's unfeigned, that's showing unfeigned love, and I believe that they're out there, look for resources. One thing that I did is, wherever city you live in, look to see if there's any program to help mothers. There might be, but start just creating communities. And I don't want it to be in a space where you're just trying to create these communities so you can get free stuff or free food or just things, but really find a community that can help you with your mind and your morals. Therapy, like find communities that can stem to how do I get therapy. There are group therapies. I believe that there are resources out there. And I also believe that when we focus on something, we can find an answer for it. So when we are focused on all the bad things, we're going to find evidence for life being bad. We're going to continue to find evidence for things not working out. But if you start to find evidence for a support system, find evidence that you are loved, find evidence that making decisions based off of love can brighten my life. If you find evidence for that, you will start to see that. You will. Because even if you don't see it immediately, is there anything better than looking in that direction? Or is it better for us to just believe that we don't have the support system, that life is going to be hard, that we aren't loved? Because the truth is, we are. And I know this is going to be the most cheesiest thing, but God does love us. And I did not know God's love until I established a relationship with God and not religion, not looking for people in churches to accommodate that. Like, I really was sincere with my questions. So this is why the self-awareness journey is about questions. And to start where you don't know. And also use what you have. We are in an age right now where people are sharing their stories of success. So look at those stories. So we have this story of someone who gave their children away, but there's so many stories. There's so many stories of mothers who did it and they did it well. Look at those stories as well. There's so many different perspectives here. And I love what she did here, because I think that it's one of those things, if this continues to spread, the internet and the right mindsets get on it and they understand what the issue really is, we're getting farther and farther away from loving each other. And I know there's so many spaces for us to judge and condemn. I know there's even scriptures that tell you to go around and judge people and to tell single mothers what they're not doing right, and for women to tell fathers what they're not doing right. But even in a case where you are in a situation where you cannot, where that person chooses evil, when that person chooses to neglect, when that person chooses that, you still have your choices. And I don't know if you'll ever see this video, Amora, but thank you for sharing your content on this channel. I'm looking at people's content, and I honestly did not think that I gotta get off this video so I can really go cry, because I think I first picked this video because I said, wow, like someone, I keep saying return, that someone gave their children to CPS. And I said, there has to be more to this. That's the first thing so I looked at a video, and it was the beginning of her story. I think she was in a CPS office, and I said, this one seems like it's really long. I get the idea. Then I came across someone's content that says, oh, now she's out here doing interviews and shaking her butt. And I said, okay, maybe there's more to this story. But instead of choosing all the things and going through all the content, I found one, which was this piece of content. So thank you to this creator on Lemonade Show for sharing and giving her space. That's the last thing I want to say about this internet thing, about us coming online and sharing our thoughts. This is really free therapy for people, because you have to pay for therapy even when you can't afford it, or quality therapy, I should say. And a lot of people are just releasing their childhood traumas. They're releasing from a place and they're starting somewhere. And the way that I feel about motherhood is the most powerful thing that you can do if you want to do it. It really could heal the world if we are given the opportunity to be mothers, nurturers, true nurturers. And I think that can look differently for everyone. Some people will say that it has to come from a stable household, or having a husband and wife, but that also requires, in my perspective, it requires the husband to actually have the authority of God in their life and to use that as a lens in a way that's not like it has been seen in some cases. Like, really know, what does it mean to fear God and to support and to operate in love? I don't even think it has to be a big burden for the man in these situations if he also cooperates and contributes. There are co-parenting situations that have been healthy, so I will look for content of healthy co-parenting relationship. And if that is not a case that you can do, look for content of mothers supporting each other. Look at communities. Everyone has a story and they are creating these communities. But I'll just end there. I think that this was a really, really interesting topic, and it could inspire people to really think about how they come across in this earth. Are you contributing any peace? Because no matter what people say about living in a peaceful world, if we can imagine all these other things, then we should try to imagine what that looks like and try it. Just try it once a day. Write something in your journal from a different perspective. Like, I would, especially if you're a person who was so quick to be mad and angry at this woman, really try to practice looking at it from a different perspective. Just try it. And for someone who is even like an advocate for it, but an advocate in a way where they like, I gotta get rid of my children too. Try to offer a different perspective to your positivity about it or your inspiration of it. Like, I'm inspired to get rid of my children too. No. Now that I know that this hurts me, what can I do with this? Who do I need to call out to? Do I have anybody? Where can I go on Google? What type of decision making can I try to make in my life to see if it will work? What if I just tried Jesus? What if I just tried to build a relationship to see if there's guidance and direction? I don't know if it's going to work for everyone, but what I would challenge you to do is try it without all of the things from the earth and the world blinding you of a authentic relationship. Sometimes we will get in a relationship or we'll get in a situation and we always look for the reviews of other people. So like, you might not go to a restaurant because the reviews of other people are just horrible, but you might be the one to have the best experience there. Or you might have something to take away from that, because you have to have that experience for yourself to see if it's true or not. Because with all the, like, even when we look at I was going to share some studies, but I don't think it really matters. We know that there are single parents in the world. But even when I look at studies, there are studies that's manipulated based off of how many people are in the studies, or there's stories. There's data that's always going to tell you a story to fit whatever story we're trying to push. But looking at the true testimonials and reviews of people's experiences that related to yours, or what you want to see, like if I want to be a mom, what type of content can I try to consume of people doing that the best that they can? And even when we consume this content, you have to make space for yourself to be a critical thinker, because everything that you see online, everything that you absorb might not be for you. But taking this space and time of like, who am I? What do I want? What are my problems? Like writing those things out in a journal. It might be the step of really putting you in the right direction. Bye y'all. Until next time, hold on to you as much as you can. Hold on to your health, your well-being, and your mind. Be mindful. Bye.